So my first therapy session ever, and this was many, many years ago, and I had all sorts of embarrassments and shame and all sorts of nuances going on, not even thinking I needed therapy. But long story short, I found myself going to this man's house in Ireland and knocking on the door, and he opens the door, he greets me, we walk in, and he operated from his house. And he said, go on inside to the living room and take a chair and I'll basically get us some tea. And I walk in, there's two chairs at right angles. And one of them had what looked like a coffee table next to it. But essentially it was like a triple decker of kind of Kleenex. It was like a big, big stack of Kleenex boxes, one on top of another. And I realized, holy shit, that's Kleenex. And this is how naive I was, or stupid, whatever your opinion is. And I looked down and I said, God, he must have a bad cold. So I sat in the other chair. I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and thinking, yeah, this is a nice space. And in he comes with the 2 cups of tea and he stops and he stands and he looks at me, he goes, Philip, you're sitting in my chair. So I kind of got up and I shuffled over, my head down, and I sat down and I'm looking at the Kleenex and I'm looking at him and I'm looking at the Kleenex and I'm looking at him. And I said to myself internally, I said, there's no fucking way you're gonna make me cry. I mean, that's just not gonna happen. So I have a couple of sips of my tea and he just looks at me and says, so tell me about your life. And I don't know how long it was, but it wasn't very long at all. I found myself just bursting into tears. Then I got really angry. Then I oscillated between the two. Then I was kind of numb. Then I was angry. Then I was tearful. And before I know it, he looks at his watch and he said, well, that's our hour up, Philip. And I said, the fuck it is. I said, I'm only getting started. And I left that building and I remember standing outside his house and I remember bending over, my hands were on my thighs and I was bent over, and excuse the detail, but I felt like I wanted to vomit, but I was afraid I'd vomit every one of my organs up. And why I'm sharing this with you is, for me, I had no idea what I was carrying inside my body. I had no idea the extent and the depth and the destruction that I was carrying inside of my body. And up to that point, no matter what I tried in life, it never really worked. I had many successes, I had lots of failures, but no matter what I achieved, it was never enough. No matter what I did, it was never good enough. And the reality was I wasn't good enough because I was carrying all of this emotion, all of this anger, all of this sadness in my body. And it's not that it's all gone, and I'm not sure that it ever will all go. That's not the goal. But I really encourage you, certainly in the country that I'm from, Ireland, and I know in many parts of the world, that there's such a stigma against therapy and there's such a sense that you only go to therapy when you're in desperate need of it. And I actually think the best time to invest in yourself is when things are going well. To actually actively go and to check in. The worst thing that you can do is come out of a therapy session or out of a coaching session or whatever modality it is you choose and go, I'm good. I'm actually good. I'm really good. That's the worst thing. The best thing is you can uncover something that perhaps is dormant inside of you that you can bring up and bring out into the world, and then you can address it. So it doesn't kind of hold you back and so on and so forth. So that was legitimately the beginning of the story for me in many respects. It was the beginning of me truly making changes in my life because I could understand all of this baggage, all of this stuff, all of this opportunity I was carrying didn't and wasn't given the light it needed. It wasn't processed, it wasn't let out, and just the relief and the energy, and that allowed me to go out and to begin to build the life that I want to build. And I'm still continuing to evolve that evolution, the vision, and the build as well. So wherever you are in the world, I encourage you to think about getting some help and not being afraid of that. If you want to join the conversation with us, I encourage you to go to philipmckernan.com, drop your email in, join us on some of these great calls that we have. We'll send you some really cool exercises you can do at home or with your colleagues, your family, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Take care. Bye.